Think about this. A president picks up the phone and calls FIFA. Not a government minister, not a federation ambassador. The President of the United States of America, personally. That happened at a World Cup in 2026. And somehow, that was only the third most insane story to emerge from the second half of this round of 16. Welcome to 4 matches that collectively delivered more drama, more heartbreak, more genuine football madness than most tournaments manage in their entirety. Every single one of these games had something that made you grip the armrests and forget to breathe. Let's go through all of it because every match deserves every second of attention. Seattle, Spain versus Portugal. The game the entire football world had circled in red since the draw was made. The duel of generations. No match at this World Cup carried as much symbolic weight. On one side, Lamine Yamal, 18 years old, moving through this tournament like something the game hadn't seen in a very long time. On the other side, Cristiano Ronaldo, 41 years old, the most decorated player in the history of the men's game, playing in what everyone understood would be the final chapter of his World Cup story. The emotion hanging over this match before a single ball was kicked was immense. Before kickoff, Ronaldo acknowledged Spain as favorites but spoke with his signature royal conviction. Whatever happens, he said, he would leave this tournament with a completely clear conscience. Not 100%, 1,000%. Those words turned out to be entirely true. Spain suffocated the game from the very first minute in their distinctly Iberian way, patient, relentless, exhausting. Dani Olmo carved through the Portuguese defense in the 9th minute, freeing Mikel Oyarzabal through on goal, and somehow the striker missed the target. Yamal kept cutting inside, curling efforts toward the top corner, only to be denied by Diogo Costa in genuinely world-class saves. Pedri probed the channels, Torres lurked, and wave after wave crashed toward Portugal's goal. And yet, Portugal survived. They survived because Nuno Mendes had Yamal almost entirely shut down, winning every single duel, backed by disciplined cover from Cancelo, effectively erasing the teenager from the match. And in the 41st minute, Mendes himself nearly won it. A thunderous drive from the edge of the box cracked off the crossbar and left the Portuguese fanbase simultaneously stunned and elated. Then the 53rd minute arrived and everything broke open. Mendes went down with a serious injury, left the pitch in tears, and the defensive structure that had been containing Yamal simply ceased to exist. The match ground into deep, grinding trench warfare, both sides too cautious to open up, both too frightened of the consequences of a single mistake. Extra time felt inevitable. The clock pushed past 90, and then 91st minute. Pedri touched a free kick to Ferran Torres, who cut inside and threaded an audacious disguised pass between a Portuguese defender's legs into the run of Mikel Merino, a substitute who had been on the pitch for exactly 12 minutes. Merino controlled, pivoted, and from an impossibly tight angle drove it into the near post. 1-0. The Spanish bench became one enormous roar. Portugal stood frozen. The final whistle sealed it. Cristiano Ronaldo's World Cup career is over. He gave everything he possibly could, and he walks away with his head held high. Spain are through to the quarterfinals, where Belgium await them on July the 10th. If this level of football breakdown is what brings you here, subscribe now, because the next story takes everything we just watched and raises it dramatically. What happened before USA versus Belgium even kicked off was something the modern game had simply never experienced. Fuller and Balogun had received a straight red card in the previous round for a serious studs-up challenge. His suspension was issued, standard procedure across world football. Then Donald Trump picked up the phone and personally called FIFA. The disciplinary committee, under pressure from the White House, placed the ban on pause. Balogun started. The sporting world reacted with disbelief. European football was completely furious. And Belgium decided the best response was the most old-fashioned one there is. They took it out on the pitch. Nicholas Raskin spotted a gaping hole in the American defense in the 9th minute, threaded a perfect ball through, and Charles de Ketelaere finished into an empty net before the stadium had even settled. 1-0 before the match had properly started. The Americans clawed something back in the most farcical fashion possible. Substitute Hans Van Aken deflected Malik Tillman's free kick off his own head into his own net while standing in the wall. 1 each. USA celebrating. The joy lasted 60 seconds. De Ketelaere climbed above everyone at the back post and made it 2-1 before the American celebrations had finished. And Balogun, the pardoned man, the player whose presence triggered an international diplomatic incident, was completely absent. The worst match of his career, on the biggest stage of his life. If you believe in cosmic justice, this was a fairly explicit example of it. Matt Freese then decided, for reasons that remain unclear, to wander far off his goal line, got caught on the ball, and gifted possession directly to De Ketelaere, who played it across for Van Aken to drive into an empty net and cancel out his own goal in the most satisfying way imaginable. 3-1. And Romelu Lukaku, being precisely who he has always been, arrived in the right place in the dying minutes and turned it home for 4-1. Total. Belgium dominated every way that mattered, and Kevin De Bruyne and Axel Witsel were both on the pitch to celebrate, the same two men who helped eliminate the United States at this exact same stage of the World Cup back in Brazil in 2014. 12 years later, same opponents, same outcome. Some stories have sequels that genuinely match the original. But now hold on, because Argentina versus Egypt is something else entirely. Bookmakers priced Egypt at 12-1. Not 12-1 against in some loose sense, 12-1 to win the match outright. The kind of number that functionally says this is a formality. Hussam Hassan's squad arrived anyway, with nothing to lose and no reason to hold back. 15 minutes in, Marwan Atia whips in a corner, Yasser Ibrahim attacks the back post, and he heads past Emiliano Martinez. 1-0. The world champions behind against Egypt. Argentina responded almost immediately and earned a penalty. Messi stepped up, and Mustafa Shobir dived to his right, read it perfectly, and saved it without drama. And in that moment, history was made in the worst possible way for the greatest player of all time. Messi had now missed 2 penalties in a single World Cup tournament. Across 96 years of this competition, across more than 2,000 competitive matches, no player had ever done that before. Not one. That record now belongs to Lionel Messi, and nobody would have chosen it for him. Before halftime, he struck the post from a free kick. Shobir made another superb stop to deny Alvarez point blank. Argentina went in at the break rattled, 1-0 down, and looking genuinely fragile. The second half became controlled chaos. 65th minute, Salah accelerated forward, Haytham Hassan nutmegged a defender in the area and rolled it square, and Egypt scored again. 2-0. The world champions 2 goals behind with 25 minutes remaining. Scaloni threw everything at it. Lautaro Martinez on, Nico Gonzalez on, bodies forward, desperation mounting. And then, in that precise moment when everything looked darkest, Messi picked up the ball. 79th minute. He lifted a perfect weighted delivery to the back post, and Christian Romero, the Tottenham center-back, attacked it with full commitment and headed it past Shobir. 1-2. And that pass made Messi the greatest assist provider in the history of World Cup football. 9 assists, more than any player who has ever lived. He cannot score from the spot. He can still change everything. 5 minutes after that, the ball broke to him outside the box and Messi struck a volley. He hit it so cleanly, so precisely, that it flew straight into the top corner, and the Argentine section of the stadium lost all remaining composure. 2-2. Egypt were shattered, and in the 90th minute, Lautaro Martinez whipped a delivery to the far post. Enzo Fernandez arrived like a knife and swept it home. 3-2. Argentina survive. Messi, the man who set an all-time anti-record in the first half, ends the evening as match winner and history maker. They face Switzerland in the quarterfinals. A Switzerland side built by Murat Yakin that earned their place in the most grinding, suffocating way imaginable. In Vancouver at BC Place, missing Johan Manzambi through injury, with Dennis Zakaria forced into an unfamiliar position at right back, Yakin's team constructed a wall that Colombia, with James Rodriguez, Luis Diaz, and full momentum, simply could not find a way through for 120 minutes. Remo Freuler was exceptional in midfield, everywhere, constant, impossible to play around. Gregor Kobel pulled off a brilliant save to deny Gustavo Puerta at close range. Goalless after 90, goalless after 120, then penalties. Quintero struck his powerfully down the middle, Colombia lead. Xhaka answered under a wall of noise, driving it straight through the keeper's hands. Then Davinson Sanchez stepped up for Colombia, struck it cleanly, and watched in horror as it smashed off the crossbar. Switzerland moved ahead. Akanji stepped forward and sent his efforts sailing into the upper tiers. Switzerland gave the advantage straight back. Back and forth, goal after goal, miss after miss, the entire stadium swinging with every single kick, until Ruben Vargas, the man who had spent long stretches of this tournament on the bench, stepped up to decide it all. He drove it low and hard into the bottom corner. Switzerland through, Colombia out. And Yakin's extraordinary side, against all expectation, now walk into a quarterfinal against Messi's Argentina. France versus Morocco. England versus Norway and Holland. Spain versus Belgium. Argentina versus Switzerland. 4 quarterfinals, everyone loaded with history, unfinished business, and consequences that extend far beyond 90 minutes. So tell me, which story from this round of 16 hit you hardest? The political circus that Belgium turned into a clinical 4-1 masterclass? Messi's impossible second-half resurrection after the worst first half of his World Cup career? Or Switzerland's ice-cold nerve in the shootout that Colombia simply could not match? Drop your take in the comments below. I read every single one, and I reply to the ones that make me think. Subscribe, smash the bell, and stay close, because the quarterfinal previews are dropping fast, and trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next.